So to start this out, I built a temporary mold out of some 1x2 just to see the placement of the wood and what I was going to include in the longboard and the pieces that didn't have to be in there. So basically I'm just seeing what's going to go into the board and what's not. I did add about 3/4 of an inch on each side, like length and width. So here I'm making my cuts. The size of the board that she wanted was 9 inches by 36 inches. So I ended up going 9 3/4 by 36 3/4. Just so that way you got a little bit of wiggle room to see what you want to incorporate into the board and what I didn't. So here I'm seeing exactly where to make my cuts. And the piece on the right had a lot of that jagged edge, and I wanted the board to be transparent. So what I'm doing is just taking a marker and marking where the board on the left ends to see where I can make it so that way there's nothing right there in between and it can be totally transparent. So doing this just adds a ton of depth to the board. So when I take the blue and it's transparent, you can see that bark all the way down through there. I just think it gives it a really cool effect. So here I'm just gonna snap a picture, make sure everything looks good and is fitting the way that it should. Send the picture to the client, make sure she likes what she sees, and then we'll go on to the next step. And this is going to be the bottom of the mold. I use Duck Easy Start shipping tape. I've seen people use tuck tape and mold release and Tyvek tape and probably a bunch of other kinds of tapes and releases, but I've seen them try and fail with that stuff. This works for me every time, and it's like 1/3 of the price. So I stick with the shipping tape. And I usually use the duct tape, the Easy Start one. So when you do this, just make sure that your edges of the tape, like the seams of it, are pressed down. If you look back there, that there's an adhesive spreader. It's like a roller for glue. If you take that, or your hand, if you don't have one, and just rub over the top and make sure those seams are down, then you're gonna save yourself a lot of work. That's 100% silicone caulk. Epoxy doesn't stick to it, and it also prevents the epoxy from seeping underneath the mold. So you don't want that to happen. It's a huge mess and a big dent in your wallet. And there's my bonus son in the background helping. So what I'm gonna do is just add a little bit of weight to this. It's a 30-minute, but I wait usually 40, 45. Add a little bit of weight to the top, or you can clamp it down. Either way, it works sufficiently. So I was just showing how I weighed it down. I just used some epoxy that I had on hand. And no, that's not what I'm using for this. I actually got that from a client a while ago, and I just never used it. So the colors that she was going for, I didn't have. I had deep blue and black, and she wanted midnight blue. So I took the deep blue and I just added black until we got the color that she had wanted. And when I pour this, I'm going to pour in layers because it's going to be transparent. I just want to pour the first layer, pop the bubbles, second layer, pop the bubbles, and then the third layer. and I'm doing it all at the same time. I just think my camera shut off on me, so it really only got the first layer. When you're mixing your epoxy, make sure you scrape your edges and get the bottom of it. The worst thing that I've seen from people, and it happens all the time, is unmixed epoxy. All the time you get, it's still tacky. It's been 3 weeks. It's been a month. It's been 2 months. It's not going to get hard unless it's done right the first time. So just do it right and save the hassle. If you're getting anything out of this video and would like to see more content like this, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. I will be uploading videos weekly, and I promise the content will get better and a little bit smoother. So after you get the epoxy in, you're gonna just want to take a torch or a heat gun, a blow dryer, whatever it is that you have. I prefer a torch, and just pop all the bubbles on the surface. And because there was that edge, that there was like a ledge, that's one of another reasons why I did it in layers, because I wanted to get under that edge and not have a bunch of bubbles stuck under there. Right, so this is a day and a half later, and I'm just getting it out of the mold. And like I said, that easy start duct tape for a small thing like this, like that works totally fine. I use it on my big tables. I use it on my dining room tables. You just kind of, I take a rubber mallet and just get the sides off, and then you can take like the wooden wedges. I think I used the chisel that was in my hand because it's not hard to get this off. You can actually reuse like all of this stuff. I don't reuse the sides because of the caulk. They're like 90 some cents, I think, at the hardware store. So but the bottom, if you just take the tape off like right there, like while you're there, then it doesn't get all sticky and stuff, so you can just reuse it. I see a lot of people buy stuff for molds like brand new every time, and it doesn't affect the tables in any way if you reuse it. As you see, the board is clean, but it's just cost. It's like waste. I don't know. I try to keep my waste down. This is a Baco scraper. I got it off of Amazon, and epoxy's really sharp on the edges, so if you just take that until you router it down or make your rough cuts, it kind of just prevents your hands from getting all scraped and cut up. So that's just something that I do. And just gonna run it through the planer and make it the same thickness all the way through. And there was a couple of small like little slits in the wood, and I wanted to open them up because she was going to be riding on it, and I just wanted to make sure that it was as sturdy as possible. And this is something that I do on my tables as well. I take the cracks or whatever that's in the wood, and I open them up, and it also gave me a chance to add some accents in there. I used a pearl mica, just a quick coat. It was ready to sand in about 6 hours. So this is that night. I filled all the cracks in with the quick coat I used from Stone Coat Countertops. It's ready to sand in 6 hours, but I was just going to get to it when I got up in the morning. I knew it would be dry. and I gotta sleep sometime. Here I'm cutting out the template. I found one. I actually watched a video on YouTube. The woman is Hannah, I think. 3x3 Customs. She made a longboard for her daughter, and it was 36 inches, and I had remembered, so I didn't have to design my own. So I actually got on there and got her free template. I can put the link in the description if it's okay with her. I'm gonna check first, but we'll see. If not, I'm sure you can just head over there. Like I said, the website is right there on the template. So here I'm actually making, while I have the template, I'm actually making a template to keep, because I have a lot of people inquiring about these. Oops. So I want the template to keep, although I'm not going to use this one in this video because I'm waiting on my pattern bit to come. My other one's kind of dull from wearing it out, so I didn't want to mess this up with any tear out, so I just used the bandsaw. So you just trace the template and cut it out. If you were going to use the router to get the final like cuts on the piece, then you just cut off like a rough shape, get it close to the line, and then attach it to the piece that you're working with, and then use a pattern bit, and it'll follow right there on the line. It's way easier to sand down MDF than it is your piece, so it gets you a lot cleaner cuts. But because I didn't have the pattern bit, well, I did, but just not a sharp one, I took the rough way. So you just trace the template onto your piece and cut it off to the rough shape. Cut as comfortable as you are as to getting close to the line. Just kind of take your time with it. Remember, you can always go back and recut, but you can't put something back that you cut off. So, I mean, you could, but you wouldn't want to on a longboard. Sorry about the angle here. It's kind of tight where I got my sander. I'm not going to include all the footage of sanding because you sand for a while. I did recently find a hand sander that is worth a damn. Because like I had a couple of them. I had a DeWalt. I had a Bosch, a Milwaukee. This is actually like one down. It's probably more than one down from the Rotex, the Festool Rotex, but I just couldn't bring myself to buying the Rotex. That's like $600 that I could spend on my kids. So, but it actually cut my sanding time down by at least 4 hours on a table. So here I'm water popping the grain. I'm sure it's gonna get wet in its lifetime. So if you pop the grain, if you do it right, most likely it won't happen again. When they get wet, the grain is gonna like pop up. So then you're just gonna sand it back down again. And but you're gonna want to let it dry. And I'm also sending a couple pictures to my client, get approval to keep going. I do this throughout. I keep a extremely open line of communication throughout the process of my pieces, just because this is their vision and they're kind of just working through my hands. So we're made it. We're putting the trucks on. If you saw on the template that I printed out, there was a center line. You're gonna want to include that because that's how you get these trucks right. So now I'm just screwing the holes for the bolts to go through. I go from bottom to top, like that's the bottom of it, that's the upside down. Just because of the type of drill bit that I'm using, there's not going to be any tear out on the top. It would be on the bottom. So here I'm just countersinking the holes that I just drilled. You don't want to trip up on the screws or the bolts that you're putting in there. And I'm routing the edges down just to give it the rounded look. It gives it a more finished look. Some things I do by hand. These I prefer to do with just a round over bit. And now we're putting on the trucks. Make sure we have everything. By the way, I got the wheels out before I poured the river so that way I can match the blue to the wheels. So here I'm just adding the trucks on. Now they say that you need like this special key, but I haven't found that I've needed that key yet. So I don't know. I just use like a wrench and a screwdriver. I think it's for the kingpin that you need the key. I am not a professional skateboarder. I just make them and I do cruise. I can't skateboard for nothing. So when you do these, you actually put both of the bearings on and you put the wheels in like on backwards first and then, you put the front inside and that pushes the bearings into the wheels as you see that I'm doing. And then you flip them over and then you lock them in and then that gets the bearings in both sides. They don't come with instructions. These are Core 7.0 Longboard wheels. And none of the wheels that I've ever gotten came with instructions. So I kind of just had to look it up to see how to put these on. But that's it. Like, there it is. So now it's just time to finish it. I do finish it with the Odie's oil. One thing that I'm going to say though, I had to go back over it and refinish the top because I was so excited to see how it looked that I put Odie's oil on the top. And she wanted, it's like a grippy sand. And to do that, I sprayed a clear adhesive on it. And oil and adhesive don't really mix, so I went back and I sanded the oil off of the top, which I'm kind of glad that I put that on there anyways because it does make it like water resistant, so it gives it a little bit more protection. But I would not recommend sealing the top with an oil and then putting a spray adhesive on it. So if you like what you see and you want to see more of this and things like this, I'm going to take the time to say please like and subscribe so you can be notified when I upload more content.